It's crucial that you can identify if a clause is an independent clause or a dependent clause. A clause is considered to be an independent clause or main clause if it contains both a subject and a predicate and it can stand alone as a complete sentence. An independent clause can stand alone as a complete sentence. He wants to travel to India. Vikram's family lives in Mumbai. These examples each have a subject and a predicate, and there is no reason that they can't function as actual sentences. Let's talk about a dependent clause, which is often called a subordinate clause. This type also has the two primary elements of an independent main clause, a subject and a predicate, but additionally it begins with a subordinating word that keeps it from being able to stand alone as a sentence. What do I mean by a subordinating word? Well, they're technically called subordinating conjunctions. Yeah, it's that grammar lingo that I loathe. But here are a few examples before we dig in a little deeper. Because the dog was muddy. As long as it doesn't rain. While you were on vacation. I say again, when you identify a subject that also has a predicate, you have to look for any subordinating words that come before the subject. These subordinating words turn what could have been, but isn't, an actual sentence into just a different part of speech that modifies something else. We can still clearly identify a subject and a predicate in these clauses, but we see that the subordinating words at the beginning of each of these clauses make it impossible for them to each stand alone as true sentences. Because the dog was muddy, what happened? As long as it doesn't rain, what will happen? While you were on vacation, what happened? I like using the word dependent clause to name these types of clauses with my students instead of calling them subordinate, because dependent reminds us that there has to be something else. It's not independent and able to stand alone. Here's a list of words or phrases that turn a main clause into a dependent clause. I'm sure there may still be some other ones out there, but this gives you a good idea of what you're looking for. If you see these subordinating words at the start of a sentence, the clause that it introduces will need to be set apart using a comma nearly every time, and there will be a different subject and predicate forming the main independent clause for that sentence. Here's another look at these dependent clauses. Because she didn't want to wait for the bus to arrive, Josie started walking toward home. Until daylight savings time ends, it will be dark each day by late afternoon. It's important that we do a quick review of these essential topics. I'll provide you 4 sentences, and for each one, I need you to identify the complete subject and the complete predicate, knowing that some sentences may have more than one of each. Then I'll give you additional time to decide what the simple subjects and predicates are, and to identify if each clause is considered independent or dependent. We'll use more quotes from Chimamanda Adichie, who I referenced earlier in this lesson. Practice sentence number 1. It may seem like an odd complete subject, but students and others write these kinds of sentences all the time. Our subject is what is important about his writing, and our complete predicate is the remainder of the sentence. How about the simple subject and predicate? Again, maybe not exciting, but we've got what and is in this one. So is this an independent clause that can stand on its own as a true, correct sentence? Yes, it is. There are no subordinating words at the beginning of the clause that would make it dependent. It's good to go. All right, have at it. Was there anything special here? We're seeing 3 separate clauses, all in one sentence. Time out from our examples for just a second. I didn't mention it yet specifically, but a sentence can be classified as simple or compound. Simple sentences include only one independent clause, while compound sentences include 2 or more independent clauses. We've mostly been looking at simple sentences in today's lesson. But every one of us writes compound sentences all the time, just like these. So going back to Adichie's sentence here, we can see that this example is a compound sentence as it has 3 independent clauses linked into one sentence. And can this compound sentence stand alone? Yes, it can. There are no subordinating words in sight. It is good to go. I really want you to hear me on this. You'll have a much easier time understanding when to correctly use commas if you can identify the independent clauses within each sentence. So practice sentence number 3 of 4. A few years ago, I visited Mexico from the US. Remember, we're looking for the complete and then simple subjects and predicates. So the word I is our only type of subject. It counts as the complete and the simple subject. And our complete predicate is visited Mexico from the US, with our simple predicate being visited. What about the introductory element before the comma? Does this make it a dependent clause? Nope, not at all. It's just extra information that the reader's been given. It's not essential, so it's set apart by commas. Or it could be placed elsewhere in the sentence, becoming part of the predicate. We'll be covering these types of elements in another lesson, but our current sentence is definitely fine to stand on its own. This is the last one, almost done. We've got 2 clauses in this sentence, right? Both of them only have I as the subject, both complete and simple. There are 2 complete predicates, and we can see the simple predicates within them. So for sure, these are 2 clauses. But are they both independent? What about the word after in the first clause, the very first word in the entire sentence? After is one of those subordinating conjunctions that we want to be able to identify. This first clause is a dependent clause because it starts with after, and that works fine for our overall example because we have an independent clause coming later in the sentence. It stands on its own just fine. And that concludes our review of this lesson. Hey, seriously, I really appreciate that you stuck with me and went over these vital points. It's totally fine if you need a quick brain or bathroom break, but come right back, please. You've done the hard work on the boring stuff. Now we're going to jump straight into 3 of the most catastrophic and unfortunately common correctness errors that students include in their writing. And what we've just reviewed together will make it so easy for you to identify and fix these errors in your own writing. Onward, vamos, to fragments and splices so you can keep them out of every essay you ever write in the future. I'll see you there.